I realized that acting is not only about saying heavy dialogues, build a body, look the same in every film. That's not acting for me. I think acting is to look the part, to make you guys believe that I'm watching this character's journey, and for you to be invested in his world with his emotions. For me, that is acting. When I give a shot and I turn back and I see my director is crying, and because acting is very powerful, it can really move you.
Good evening, everyone. It's absolutely fantastic to see all of you here, so thank you for coming on a weekday to see such a packed house is splendid. I'm Shoma Chaudhury. I'm the founder of Lucid Lines, a company that's absolutely passionate about the power of conversation and the importance of sharing ideas as spaces of discovery and its power to really transform us and transform societies. So a big, big thank you for coming here to Ignition, a new platform that we've started in partnership with Shiv Nadar Foundation. Shiv Nadar Foundation is something that all of you have heard of. You know, it's the philanthropic wing of HCL, one of the largest technology companies in the country. And Shiv Nadar is, like us, passionate about enlightened citizenship. It believes in the power of transformative education to create a meritorious society. And they really walk their talk. They've spent more than $1.1 billion on creating educational institutions of class, Shiv Nadar University, Institutes of Eminence, the Shiv Nadar schools, one which is right in the neighborhood, new schools that they're starting in Chennai. And they're really wonderful partners to be with because, like I said, we share a common purpose and common vision. And of course, they also back music, art, the habitats. So it's really enlightened citizenship at its best. And they have a lot of their guests here, so a big welcome to all of you. We also have as partners BMW, another brand that really believes in the power of change to look towards the future. They've passionately committed to something called forwardism, which combines technology, luxury, and efficiency with the desire for sustainability and joy. And they have a spaceship outside that they call a car, which is looking at sustainability. It's the first electric BMW i7, and they're wonderful to partner with. I must tell BMW that a lot of people have asked, what is this key for? Is there lottery for cars? So do corner them. And then, of course, Shivas, that's always wonderful partners. They believe in the spirit of conversation, you know, even if you're only looking at their glassware. And then, of course, we have Brand Avatar, wonderful partners who've managed the event for us, and DLF, which is wonderful hosts. I'd like to give a shout out to my husband and partner, Aditya Puri, and Dibyangi, Walmik, Kabir, and others on the team, Pratik Purkayast, who've helped us bring all of this together. And of course, the biggest thanks to all of you to take time out on a weekday in a city like Delhi and Gurgaon. A big cheers to all of you. Thank you for being here. Just one line about Ignition. You know, as we said, as you can see, there are keys everywhere because we're hoping through this platform to explore keys to different worlds. And you'll see that epitomized today when all the three sessions that we have today are really keys to different worlds. And I'm very excited to be starting in Delhi with someone who epitomizes the idea of ignition. You know, a self-starter, as he self-declaredly says, a man with no plan B. We have BMW as a partner, but this is somebody who cycled 70 kilometers every day to pursue a passion. And he's a Gurgaon boy. You know, his CV is very large because he's a National Film Award winner, he's a Filmfare Award winner. But more than the CV, I think what is so special to have him here is because when you look at his canvas, what you see is real eclecticism from films like Queen and Kai Poche, Aligarh, Shahid, you know, Stree, to something like right now a film called Bheed, which I hope all of you have seen, which is the first film that looks at what happened in the exodus, the migrant exodus during COVID, And through all of that is running a vision that marks the man. So ladies and gentlemen, the master of multiple faces, the man who disappears into his roles, the actor extraordinary, Rajkummar Rao.
Thank you so much. This was, oh, thank you. I'm out of words, but a big thank you to all of you for coming here on a weekday, as ma'am said. And I'm so happy to be here, in Gurgaon, my hometown. And I'm sure there's a lot of familiar faces. I just met one who I met some 20 years back. But yeah, it's great to be back. And thank you so much. Your introduction was too kind.
No, Raj, thank you for coming. I know you're in the middle of a shoot, and so taking time off, it's very special to have you here. And like I said, the path to Gurgaon, to glory, has been a tough one. So we're going to unpack a lot of that for the audience. But, like I said, you have such an eclectic canvas, and we're going to look at some of that. But the thing that really struck me, Raj, is that people speak of acting and, this whole world in terms of glamour and connection. You speak of it really unusually. You say that it's a very pious art and a very meditative art. Those are two words one would never associate with, typically with the world of acting. So tell us why you say that, and what does acting mean for you?
Well, acting means everything to me. Actually, as you mentioned earlier, there was never a plan B for me. I fell in love with cinema. I grew up in a joint family in old Gurgaon. Of course, that time Gurgaon was not what we see now. I think with Gurgaon, I also we grew together. But I just fell in love with cinemas, watching those films during weekends with my family. I was just mesmerized with those stories, with those actors. And I was a kid. I was in class 8th or 9th. And at that time, of course, my vision also was I want to be like these guys. Because, as a kid, there's no vision what this art form is. But I decided then and there, that's what I want to do. I want to be an actor. I want to act in movies. And the journey started from there. I started doing theater in Delhi, in Gurgaon, in my college. Everywhere that I could manage, I was there, present there, just working the hardest. And then film school happened. So FTII really changed my life. I think most of the credit I would give to FTII. I was introduced to such a broad spectrum of cinema, per se, to all these amazing, greatest artists, Daniel Day-Lewis, to Roberto Benigni, to Meryl Streep, and I was amazed by their work, of course, but also by the passion with which they work, by their process. And there I realized that acting is not only about saying heavy dialogues, build a body, look the same in every film. That's not acting for me. I think acting is to look the part, to make you guys believe that I'm watching this character's journey, and for you to be invested in his world, with his emotions. For me, that is acting. When I give a shot and I turn back and I see my director is crying, and because acting is very powerful, it can really move you. I feel music is the most powerful art form, and then comes acting. I think it has the power to change people's life, which we have done through a couple of our films. But for me, it's become very meditative now. It's no more what I saw back in class 8th. For me, it's way more than that. I was never chasing money. I never had goals. I want this much money in 5 years. I just wanted to work and do good work.
So, and like, boy, have you done good work, And, from Aligarh to Shahid to Omerta, from entering a terrorist's mind to, one of the, I wonder how many of you have seen Badai Ho, which he...
Badai Do, the second one, yeah.
That's a huge audience that's seen Badai Ho. And again, one of the things that Raj has said is that if 3 people out of 10 watch his films, those are the 3 he wants to speak to. That's the level of self-belief and commitment. But so I want to, before we go further, I want you to take us into some of these characters that you picked. Say Badai Ho, which is a male cop. Badai Do, which is a male cop. And then Omerta, where you play a terrorist. And then Shahid, where you play someone who flirted with being a militant and then ends up being a lawyer. Tell us how, beyond the script, how did you enter these characters? Why did they speak to you? And what did you do that was the Rajkumar touch with these characters?
I'm still figuring out what is the Rajkumar's touch. I think the sincerity and honesty is my touch, nothing else. So Badhai Do happened. So my director Harshvardhan Kulkarni he was working on this script for many, many years, and he wanted to tell this story. And he met me around 2018, right after Stree. And I read the script, and for some reason I was doing another film which was dealing with the same issue. And I told him, "Okay, listen, Harsh," and he's my senior from Institute, so we share that rapport that I could tell him that, "Harsh, I'm already doing one. It doesn't make sense for me to dwell in the same subject in the same year." So he was, of course, heartbroken because he wrote the character thinking of me. But then as Universe planned it, that film never happened, and I went back with Badhai Do. I think most of the credit I would give to Harsh. You know, as actors, we can only do what's on the paper. Of course, you can improvise, you can do a lot of stuff, but if it's not there on the paper, no matter how great an actor you are, if the film doesn't talk to the audience, it won't work. People might say, my biggest fear is people come out of my film and say, "Listen, you were really good, but the film was okay." Nobody wants to hear that. I would rather say, "Great film. You're also fine, but great film." I think that's the biggest compliment, because we all work for films and not for some selfish reasons. So when I read Badhai Do, I was moved. I was totally moved. For me, the film was those last 20 minutes when we were talking to you guys directly, sitting in our living room, standing with my mother on the terrace. Because those were the part which were really responsible. And credit should go to Harsh and Akshat, both the writers and Harsh being the director. They are very responsible people. And I could sense that. For me, the intent of making a film is very, very important. That why are you making this film? It can't be corruption. You know, it can't be like, because we're going to put 2 songs and that this subject works, so let's make 1 more because this might also make 100 crore. It doesn't work that way with me. I saw his intent that he wanted to tell a very important story with a lot of heart in it, with pure soul in it. So when I read it, my whole thing was, and this was his idea for me to be a bodybuilder, the character, and to grow that mustache, because he wanted Shardul, my character, to be a man, because he was a closeted gay. He was very scared of the society, of his family. He never dared to come out. He was ready to get married to a girl, but he just never dared to come out. So for me, it was very important to pick those scenes where you see a glimpse of him being who he is. Him just being himself in front of Bhumi's character, Bhumi Pendika's character, the hotel scene, the scene on the terrace. Those I picked, because a lot of it is also comedy, as you must have seen it. So many of you have seen it. So comedy I enjoy. I enjoy doing comedy. But in that comedy also, that fear of somebody might see me, my secret might come out, is very important. So we were just taking care of that. And then came the last 20 minutes, which I was waiting for wholeheartedly. And I told Harsh, just give me an hour. I just wanted to, and luckily we shot that scene towards the later stage of filming. I just took an hour, I just prepared myself, I sat on that chair. And Shiva ma'am tells me this later, because she was sitting behind me in that scene, and we never had any eye contact. And she said, when you were preparing, you were just sitting, there was lighting going on, you just extended your hand like this to me, and I held your hand, and we were like that for 5 minutes, and that did something to me for the next scene, the terrace scene. And I don't know why I did that. I just wanted my mother's support in that moment. And we did it in 1 take, and luckily it came out well, and the terrace scene happened. So yeah, so for me the important part was never to play it conventionally. You know how we see quite often how people from queer community are being represented in cinema, which I find very funny. I think it's not right. We have to stop doing that. It's not right to the community, it's not right to individuals. So my whole point was just to break the convention, which I try every time, to break the convention and to make you believe in those last 20 minutes. And trust me, ma'am, when I say this, we got so much of love. There are stories where people have called us, messaged us, saying, "Thank you so much for making Badhai Do." I saw it with my mother, and I came out in front of her after the film, and she was crying, I was crying, and we both just hugged. I think that's the power of cinema.
So, you know, Raj, again, I'm just going to take you quickly through a couple of other characters which were really off the rails, difficult to do. And, you know, one is Omerta, where you played Omar Sheikh's character. He's one of the most dreaded terrorists of our time. He's a living man. So to play any character, you have to find empathy, right? You have to understand the meaning, what moves. He doesn't see himself as evil. So how did you empathize with him and share with the audience how far you went? Like when I'm not going to give it away, but when the Paris bombing happened, how deeply you were into his psyche. But help us understand him through your eyes.
So we did this film called Omerta, directed by Hansal Mehta, who I've done a lot of films with, one of the finest makers we have in the country. So when he told me about Omar Sheikh's life, so most of the times when you read a character, you somewhere relate to that character. That, maybe I am that honest as Newton, maybe not that honest, there's some honesty in me like Newton. If I'll get trapped in an apartment, maybe I would behave like this. But with Omar Sheikh, I had no connection at all. So everything came from watching a lot of documentaries, reading so many books, talking to Hansal sir, because all I thought was this guy is carrying so much of anger and so much of hate towards people. So I started carrying that rage, that hate, that anger inside me. And of course, I changed my look, I grew my beard and everything, which helps as well. When you change physically, it does something to you. But those 2 months of filming was the most torturous part of my life till date, because I just wanted to get out of that character so badly. I started getting trouble mentally. And then, of course, that thing happened. I also,
when he's saying that thing happened, you can't slide past it, Raj.
No, it's very sad, but I'm sorry. I was just in a different mental state at that time. Before that, I would just say how Patrulekha, my wife, yes. Patrulekha came to meet me in Delhi when we were filming. Her plan was to stay back for 3 days, but she just left the next day saying that your energy is weird. And I said, no, I'm the same. She's like, no, there's something weird about you. I'm going, you meet me after the film. And then I used to watch a lot of BBC News to listen to the accent again and again. And Paris, attacks happened, and I was just watching. I was Omar at that time, fortunately or unfortunately. And I was seeing those clips, and the first thought that popped up in my mind as Omar Sheikh was, well done. And immediately I stopped myself, thinking, no, what are you saying? This is horrible. So I realized, I need to finish this film ASAP. I need to get out of this guy's head. Right. Yeah, it's really troublesome.
Yeah. But that's an indication of his commitment. If you have time, we'll delve into some more. But, about this canvas of work, Raj, you've said that you want to be honest, you believe in the power of cinema. But when you're picking these films, like I said, there's a thread that's running right through it. And, you've said that you look at cinema as a tool of social transformation, as social conscience. Most actors shy away from describing cinema as that, So what made you do that? What made you own up to that power? And do you find it restrictive? Is it that you naturally get attracted to that? Tell us some of why you've picked these films.
I think it's in my DNA somewhere now. We can blame my film institute for that, but that's how it is going to be now. It's not like I've not done bad films. I have done bad films. I've taken some wrong decisions, but I think that lockdown really helped me.
You don't want to name the films you call bad?
Of course not, no. But lockdown really helped me, where we were at home for 4 months like all of us, and I was just chatting with Patrulekha, and she told me that, why don't you do the film that you used to do? I miss that old Raj, because you used to be so passionate about those films. And these, light-hearted films, I would keep doing, of course, Threes and other films of the world.
Stree, by the way, made him 300 crore, so...
Yeah. Yeah. But she said, thank you. I miss that old Raj. And I realized that, yeah, even I miss him. Where you go on set so excited and you come back drained, but you feel so happy that something magical happened today. When you go onto your bed, you can't wait to go back to the set again. You look forward to it. And I was missing that in my life. So I decided I'm going to do films, only those films where my heart is. And not for any other reason, not because a friend said that, it's a good script, and trust me, right now it's not there, but we'll manage and we'll work it out, and by the time we shoot, it will be there, and it's never there. And then you're stuck. You have to still do it, of course, wholeheartedly, but you're not sure about it.
You can see it's going to be a disaster.
Yeah, you can see it. In 3 days of filming, you figure out which side it's going.
Right. Yeah. So, Raj, of all the people that have influenced you, you mentioned Daniel Day-Lewis and Hansal Mehta, Aamir, Shah Rukh, Manoj Vajpayee, and I'm going to come to some of those, but at the core of the people that you say really was instrumental in shaping you was your mother, and to a large extent your father. But, beyond the cliches of how we describe our mothers, if she was a character, make her come alive for us. What was so special about her beyond just being your mother? individually for herself, who was she?
She was a fighter. So I grew up in a middle class, no middle class background, and money was always an issue, but she never made us feel that it's an issue. And she was a fighter. And she was somebody who would go out of her way to help people, and who was very spiritual, who was very honest. So I think for me, all these qualities that I've imbibed only from her. And I'm just like her, and that's what my family tells me. And I'm very proud to be like her, because she was somebody who, if I won a national award also, I would tell her, you know, Ma, what happened? I won a national award. She'd like, yeah, nice, but you know, there are bigger things waiting. I would tell her anything. She'd like, this is great, but there are bigger things waiting. She would always encourage me. She never, you know how parents are, 2 years in Bombay, there's no work happening. Sometimes they say, why don't you try television? Why don't you do something else? She was like, no. You always wanted to be a film actor, be at it. Sooner or later, you will be there. And I'm telling you, you will be there. The kind of belief she had in me was, I don't know where it came from, but it was just insane.
So, you know, I'm going to come back to her because I want to know a little more about her. But when you're saying that she filled you with this self-belief, like, I'd like the audience to understand how hard that, you know, we always meet people when they've succeeded. So it's important to know what led to that, the ignition, you know, before you arrive. So how tough were those years? Because also physically, like, this is a very grueling industry that wants you to be fair, tall, dark, tall, handsome, fair, and you didn't fit the bill. So were there times when you really doubted your physique, did you dislike how you looked? You know, Anil Kapoor has said on a stage that I was hosting, he said he used to look into the mirror and everyone wrote him off and he kept saying, you're a handsome bastard.
He's still saying that. Till date, he's saying that. You're the best. And he inspires us so much.
Yeah. So did
it
you?
is. No, it was tough. I won't say it wasn't tough. I don't have those sad stories where I was sleeping on footpaths, but I'm sure there have been people like that. But it was very tough. There were days when there were like just 18 rupees in my account, and we didn't know where the next meal would come from. But being from a film institute, there's a big community, so you call a friend and say, okay, listen, what have you guys made for dinner? Can we come? And they would be more than happy to feed you. But they have been very tough days. I'll give you a small example. Like when an outsider goes to Bombay, what happens is, I'll tell you in a nutshell, journey. You go there with your pictures, if you have a show reel, like how I had one. I'm from a film institute. A lot of people are not. They do theater, they go to Bombay because their friend circle tells them, "Tu to ekdam Shahrukh lagta hai, ja Bombay." I think that's a very dangerous thing. Guys, work on your craft. Just because your friends are saying, "Tu bahut sahi hai, ja," because you mimic well, does not mean you're a good actor. You have to work on it, work on the art form. So when you go there, you figure out, now I'm here. First few days you really enjoy. It's a very different city, you know, culturally, and it gives you a lot of freedom. So you're like, wow, I'm in Mumbai, the city of dreams. So you go see all the houses. That's Mannat, that's where Shah Rukh Khan lives. And then you make promises. You know, one day, I'm going to make a house like that. Not me, but there are people. But then the reality hits you. If you don't know your job, so what happens is there are a lot of places, like small rooms in Mumbai, everywhere, where auditions happen. For 2 years, I used to stand outside that door, where there are some 70 people around me, and that door opens for 5 minutes. I'm talking about ad auditions or some other audition, and there's one guy who would come out and would just scan, like in 30 seconds, saying, you guys stay, rest of you go back. Done. And you face that every day. It's not easy. I think anybody who thinks of becoming an actor, it's the toughest decision, guys. A lot of guts. It needs a lot of guts to face that every day and still be at it. That, you know what, it's fine. Somebody would open the door and say, you, stay. And then, of course, your work speaks. And that's what I was waiting for, that it's fine. Nobody was auditioning me for lead parts. They were like, ye chota part hai, ye dost ka part hai, do this, do that. I gave audition because I thought, I'm getting to practice my art form. At least somebody's making me act in front of the camera. Why not? But then Dibakar happened, LSD happened, Love, Sex or Dhoka. He was the guy who opened the door and said, you, wait. So I think you just have to wait for your chances and just hang on there.
Right. That's an amazing story, Raj. And again, you know, he's speaking of that as his entry, but I think that's the film you got 11,000 rupees for, right? So that's how much you had to hang in there before.
Trust me, I was very happy. Yeah, I did one ad. The first time I went to Bombay, I did one ad. And I was there for almost 7, 8 hours. Of course, they made me wait for 6 hours, 2 hours I shot. And they gave me 5,000 rupees cash. A cash or check, whatever. And I called all my friends back in Gurgaon. I'm talking about 2008. Guys, 5,000 mil gaye 6 ghante ke. I thought this is it. Because for me to see 5,000 was a big thing back then. And I was elated.
Wow.
But yeah.
This is called Kal Chakra, because we are barely 12 years later, and here's where you are. If we were to define you in terms of monetary success, also you've got there. But in terms of acclaim, just amazing. You know, everybody speaks of you as just top-class actor. So, one question about the self-belief. You know, once heard this, Manoj Bajpayee, who you really think of as an icon, I asked him once that he was from a farmer's family, and for him to make the road to Bombay was even crazier. But I asked him, and he had to wait like you. And I said, at which point do you understand whether to persevere is foolhardiness or whether it's self-belief, you know? How do people make that? How did you know that this is self-belief rather than foolishness?
I think because I trained myself for almost 6 years. And as I said, there was never a plan B. Not like I gave myself 3 years, I'm going to try for 3 years, and then would figure out what to do in life. Would open a shop back in some mall in Gurgaon. No, that was never the plan. That was it. I was in that city, chasing my dream, and for that dream, no matter what, it had to come true. I wouldn't have left that city ever. I would do theater there, I would do something or the other, but I would just be there. And what kept me going in those 2 years was, not like every day you're giving auditions. There are days you're not. But I used to come back home, and a couple of my friends and us, we would do some scene work together related to acting, like a scene work or some improvisational exercises. And trust me, ma'am, when I say that, I used to feel so happy. I like, you know what, I did something today that I love. It's not a day wasted for me. I just did something. And that just kept me going. Not to sit at home waiting कि एक दिन somebody, as they say, कोई आएगा कि यही चेहरा. थोड़ा right देखो, right left देखो, नहीं. I was like, it's fine. I would just keep working on myself, because when that opportunity knocks the door, I need to be ready. I need to be ready, I can't take it lightly. I never wanted to say, gosh, this gosh is horrible.
Right. You know, you again mentioned spirituality. You said your mother was very spiritual. I'll loop back to my original question where you said it's very meditative. And, you know, again, spirituality is a big part of your life. Help us understand what that means. Is it conventional religion, but you're not a conventional person? So what is spirituality? How would you speak of it for us?
I think it's very personal. Just to try and be a good human being, I think for me is spirituality. Just to help someone who's in dire need is spirituality. For me, it's very personal. Religion, spirituality is very personal. Of course, I meditate, I do everything, but without bothering anyone, without screaming my lungs out, look, see, I'm so spiritual. Because it gives me peace. Just like acting, I'm doing it for myself and not for anybody else. Just to have a peaceful life, just to try and be a good human being. I think that's what the world needs for all of us, just to be kind to each other.
So, you know, I'm going to present one more unconventional aspect of Raj, which is your relationship with Patralekha. You know, it's fascinating. And again, I'm sure it's not conscious, but it's a wonderful model of what a man should be. Because the way you describe love, the way you've described your partnership is very unusual, and I'd love you to share that with the audience. In your view, and you wrote her a letter about what love is in your eyes. Would you share that with the audience?
Yeah, so I met Patralekha back in 2010. Right after my first film, LSD, we both were traveling to Pune to shoot for something together. And she saw LSD, which I had no idea about. And she was just not talking to me, because she thought he's the same guy. He must be a lecher like that guy. You know, I'm not going to talk to him. So
that's a tribute to your art.
Yeah, it was a compliment. You know, I made her believe that. And cut to a month back after LSD, I saw her in one of the ads. I didn't know who the girl was. And true story again, a lot of people ask me on social media, Sir, aap kahani banate ho? But no. I saw some ad on TV and I saw this girl and I said, what a sweet girl. You know, I wish I could marry her.
Can't call her sweet.
Whatever I said at that time, but yeah. I wish I could marry her. And then cut to, we're traveling back to Pune, traveling to Pune together. And I asked her, what do you do? And she said some ads. I said, what ads? And then she said this ad, and that's it. I was like, this is it. This is universe telling me this is the girl. But then that was the challenge, because I had to make her believe that I'm not that LSD guy. I don't make porn videos. I don't. But then, of course, I think she was sweet enough. She saw beneath my characters. And then it's been 13 years now that we've been together, now gotten married 1.5 years back. But she is my support system. I think after my mother, she is my biggest support system. As I just told you guys, she was the one who told me, I miss my old Raj, you know, the guy who was so passionate about films. And she's always been my support system. She is somebody who's very clear, and she's a Bengali, so of course, yeah. She's intelligent.
I'll take that as a compliment.
Very intelligent, absolutely. Very intelligent, very well read. And she's from Northeast, Shillong. So I think very broad in her perspective towards life. I think that my mother and Patulika, these two really made me who I am. I totally believe that.
You know, so the letter I was sharing was that on Valentine's Day, maybe he wrote saying, why is love a loss of individuality? You know, that it's an equal partnership, and I really resonated with that. So I was hoping you would say it in your own words, but
no, I still find it very awkward to introduce her as, you know, I always introduce her as, hi, she's Patulika, and I'm Raj, I'm her husband. Yeah, it's weird to say she has her own identity, you know.
So yeah, in fact, when someone tweeted saying Patrulekha is Raj's girlfriend, he tweeted back saying, I'm Patrulekha's boyfriend, you know. So yeah, that deserves a clap, you know, for being a guy like that from Gurgaon, you know.
From Gurgaon, imagine.
Yeah.
But Gurgaon boys are sweet, don't say like that.
So Raj, you know, this film Bheed that you just did, it's, again, it's that gap between something that you have conviction about but which a market may not love. And sadly, the film has gone in just a week or 10 days. It hasn't done well. But it's definitely a story that needed to be told. I don't know how many people have seen the film. But will you share for us again, you've seen it, okay. Tell us, again, the heart of the film, and why did you want to make that film? You know, what was the kernel of the story? And then tell us, when you saw that exodus, you know, what did it say to you about you as a person, us as a people, as a country? Give us what you felt, you know, and did the film make you see differently?
No, absolutely. I think first I'll talk about Anubhav sir, who is such a woke filmmaker. You know, he is very sensitive about things in life. If he sees something, some injustice happening in the society, he wants to tell that story. He's done that starting from Mulk to Article 15 to Thappad. Anik also he tried. When Bheed happened, I always wanted to work with him. I think that's the beauty about him, that he would talk about these social issues, but eventually the film would be about human emotions. You know, he would write these characters that you guys would invest in. So when Bheed happened, we all have seen those images, you know, those thousands of migrant workers walking back to their respective places. But we don't know what happened to them after that. And I was just like that guy. Of course, we all felt horrible. We all felt very sad about it. But we don't know their story. What happened to them once they reached back? Whether they came back, whether they didn't come back, what happened? I think that's where Anubhav Sinha comes in. He would tell you things that are unheard of. And when I read Bheed's story, Bheed's script, I was very moved. It doesn't only talk about migrant workers. That's the biggest, of course, part of the story. But it talks about a lot of things. There are a lot of layers in the film. And I know so many of you have not seen it, but it will be out on Netflix very soon. Please watch it, guys. It's an important film. It's a very well-made film. We got so much of love for that film. But it's a film that had to be made. We cannot just forget what happened. As a world, I think we came out of a pandemic, and I think it's still going on. But it was just the biggest tremors I felt in my life, seeing that pandemic. Nobody expected that to happen. So we just cannot ignore it and move on. We have to be ready if something like this happens again. You know, our generation, next generation, we need to document these stories for people to see and figure out what can be done better. That's why it's important to write about them, to make films about them. Of course, as I said, it's tough to handle such situations because the whole world went through a turmoil. But at least filmmakers like Anubhav sir are trying to document these stories for generations to come and to witness what happened in 2020 to 22. So,
you know, there's a lot of stuff I want to still ask you, but I'm just going to take a couple of audience questions that I'm just trying to find the name of this, but let me ask you the question first. That Shan Jain is asking that how does such diverse roles that you've played impact your mental health and the extreme range of feelings? You know, you've spoken a little about it that you use spirituality, but how do you get out of these roles? How do you balance yourself? And has something changed in you mentally?
No, definitely. Every character has taught me something. Newton, Shahid, Omerta, Netaji, Badaido. You learn something from every character. You grow as a person. But for me, whenever I do something very intense, I just go ahead and do a Bareli Ki Barfi or a Ludo, and I dance my heart out, like Mithunda. So I think it's important to balance, and that's what I'm just doing. I'm going to, as I said, I'm going to do films which speak to me first. I have to be excited. I want to see this story. And what is this film giving me as an actor? It has to offer me something new, something different, or at least a playground, and then I can make it different. And like how it happened in Ludo, it was never supposed to be a Mithunda's fan. But during the look test, Dada just said, "Hey, tu to Mithun lag raha hai." And we got the idea. What if we make this guy who's a die-hard Mithun fan? So I think you need to balance. So whenever I get too intense, I would start 3-2 now. I would do something with Raj DK. So yeah, I do such films.
You know, we're going to run out of time. It's amazing how fast time passes. But the thing is, Bollywood, you know, recently over these last 5 odd years, there's been so much of talk about the power structures there, how hard it's to break into, nepotism, all of that, you know. You're as rank an outsider as it can be. How have you adjusted with this entire industry? You know, what are the samjhotas you've made, or how have you carved the space for yourself?
No, I found some amazing.
Do you think those power structures are real? Are they evil?
They are real. It's not evil is a strong word. No, they are real. It happens. It happened to me also, that I was supposed to do a film and then somebody influential enough wanted to do it, so I was asked to just step back, which I happily did. But I'm a different case. I don't really hold grudges. My blood group is B positive, so I'm always positive in life. But it happens. It's a reality. Not like every time it happens. I'm sure there have been cases. But there is enough part for everyone, I feel. And especially now, I think you guys are very sharp. If somebody doesn't know his or her job, you would just don't want to watch them. Maybe a film, 2 film, 3 films, you'll be like, you know what? This guy does the same thing. He's so boring or she's so boring. There won't be enough opportunities. There are actors like Jaideep Elawat in Patal Lok, Pratik Gandhi in Scam. You're like, these are the guys. You would invest in them as well. So I think thanks to you guys that, you know, actors like us are getting opportunities and are getting to explore and offer you something new and exciting by pushing ourselves day in and day out. Those realities happened. It's past. I moved on, not carrying any baggage, because I knew there would be enough work for everyone, and it is there. Every actor today who knows his or her job is a working actor. That's also a reality.
That's an amazing change, yeah. So just one last question, that between Manoj Bajpayee, you know, who's one end of the spectrum of acting and, you know, commitment, and then there's Shah Rukh at the other end, who's the epitome of stardom and what a star is. And these are the 2 pole stars that have really impacted you. So what do you draw from both of them, and how do you reconcile these 2 extremes of what the film industry stands for?
They both are dear friends. They were in a theatre group together in Delhi, Barry John's theatre group. But for me, when I was here, back in Gurgaon, I used to only watch Hindi films. And luckily, I was watching DDLJ with as much passion. Still, till date, I'm a big, die-hard Shah Rukh Khan fan. And I was watching Shul with as much passion. I was mimicking Shah Rukh Khan. Naam mein bhi Raj hai, to Raj Malhotra to bahut aasan hai banna. So I was being Raj in my school. And then in front of my friends, I was being Manoj Bajpayee. And I was just reenacting those lines from Shul, from Satya. So I think universe just had it planned for me. That, you know, choose both. Just don't focus on one thing. And then theater, FTI, so yeah, I think it just... but that's the beauty of our industry. You know,
Yep.
I'll give a very small incident. I was just telling someone the other day, and it happened twice. The respect of an artist. It's very important to know why you're doing it. You know, are you doing it to chase money, to chase fame? Because then that's what you'll get. If you're doing it for the purity of it, the amount of respect you'll get from people is insane. I was in a room with a lot of actors, big actors. And of course, everybody was chit-chatting. Another big actor came and then chit-chatting, hi, hello. Then came in Irfan Khan. Everybody got up. That's the power of a true artist. And recently, we were just celebrating Bheed, the love that we got for Bheed. Everybody was chit-chatting in a restaurant in Bombay. Came in Pankaj Kapoor. I was not even looking. I was standing with a friend of mine, another actor friend, and he said, I think Pankaj sir is here. He said, why? He said, because everybody just stood up. I think you need to know why you're doing it.
That's a great note to actually end on, but you know, you really defined it. I was going to ask you your relationship with money, and that you just said that you came from a background where money, there was a shortage, and yet you've chosen a path where money has not been your goal, you know. So has money chased you enough? Have you got enough of it? What is your relationship with money?
I pay my taxes on time and very sincerely, in case there are any IT person here. No, I have enough. See, you have to set a limit. You just can't be thinking about money. I can't do that. I would rather think about cinema, about acting, about watch a great content. Ke aaj kya dekh sakte hain. That is more important. I got a nice house, I got a good car. Not like I was chasing it. All these are byproducts. I think when you work nicely, even in every field that you guys are in, if you excelled in what you do, money would just come. You don't have to work only towards money. I think that's what I decided. You know, I'm just going to keep working, and money would be a byproduct. I have a great team, amazing team with me from Collective. So they take care of that part. I never discuss money. If somebody gives me this much money for a film, I said, great, works for the budget. Somebody said, this much money. I said, story is great, works for the budget. So money was never the option. Never left a film for money, never done a film for money, and would never do that.
Fantastic. Raj, sadly, we are meeting you at a time when both your parents have passed away, you know, and I just wanted to share with the audience that both his parents passed away when he was actually shooting in the middle of a film, and he came back for their funerals and went back the very next day. Am I for your mother? You went back the very next day. You know, before she passed away, at any point in your life, did she say you've arrived? Did she feel you arrived?
Mothers are too special. I think for them, just seeing a small news article on the 10th page of a newspaper in that corner would be like, you know what, I think you've arrived. There are bigger things waiting, but I think you've arrived. I think mothers are just amazing. She would just collect each and every article of mine, and I would like, Ma, abhi ho gaya, ab to ye aate rahenge. Even I don't read it so many times. She's like, no. Somebody has worked hard, wrote about you. I'm going to keep it. But that's why they're mothers. The most beautiful relationship that you share is with your mother.
Thank you very much, Raj. You know, because we have other sessions lined up and want all of them to run on time, but I don't know if it's the light in your eye, but just now when I mentioned your mother, it still looked like your eyes glistened, you know, and...
Oh, you miss her, yeah. Yeah. The only thing you feel is, I wish I had more time with her. But yeah, somewhere we'll meet again, all of us. Yeah.
But, you know, this is the first time I've done a conversation entirely about an artist's craft. No other, you know, and he'd said, let's not get into any sort of other geopolitical conversations, but by saying he pays his taxes on time is a very big political statement.
That's being a responsible citizen. Keep my city clean, pay taxes on time.
I think that's a really big political statement. But no, what I wanted to say is that this is the one conversation we've had purely about craft and art. But for me, at least, it's been a really affirmative conversation about passion and the power of passion. And your mother left us a great gift. So thank you very much, Raj, for being here with us.
Thank you so much.
And like Pankaj Kapoor and Irfan, maybe he deserves a standing ovation. Thank you, Raj. Thank you.